Hi, my name is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
It's a technique, it's a formula, it's just what if you practice it. I mean, we're always receiving information in our three-dimensional reality through our senses, and it's our thinking brain, our neocortex, that plugs us into three-dimensional reality. That's where we store memories, that's where we have experiences, that's where we learn information. This is the toolbox of how we navigate in three-dimensional reality. And so when the brain is in trance, when the brain has slowed its frequency of brain waves down, when we get beyond the analytical mind, we're more suggestible to information. And suggestibility is your ability to accept, believe, and surrender to information without analyzing it. And that's what programs us subconsciously. That's what begins to program the autonomic nervous system to begin to make a pharmacy of chemicals to match what our intention is. But we can't do it in certain brainwave patterns. We can't do it in stress and survival. And yet, when we learn how to slow down the thinking brain and begin to self-regulate and slow our brainwaves down, and our eyes are closed in a meditation, and we're not getting up and eating and smelling and tasting and feeling, and music is filling the space of the environment around us, our inner world starts becoming more real than the outer world. And as our brainwaves slow down and we can allow our body to feel safe enough to rest almost in a light sleep and keep our mind awake, there's a door. And that door then, by shutting down the neocortex, you're shutting down the memory bank of the known self, and you're losing track of your three-dimensional reality. You're losing track of space and time. Well, now you're still suggestible to information, but the information is not coming through your senses. The information is coming from frequency, because all frequency carries information. So teaching people how to go from a narrow focus on a danger, a threat, on the three-dimensional reality where we're habituating into this, what's called convergent focus, teaching them to broaden their focus and open their awareness and take their attention off of everything material. When they do that properly, that vacuum, that place where there's nothing physical or material, is where frequency exists. And so the fundamental question is, how much of your waking day do you put your attention on the material world, on matter, and how much of your waking day do you put your attention on energy or frequency? Well, the research shows that if you keep putting your attention on it, that unified field is going to begin to organize your nervous system into more balance and more coherence. And when you shut down the thinking brain and you can stay conscious in your subconscious mind, a little radio receiver in the back of your brain called the pineal gland becomes activated, and it will begin to pick up frequencies, and it will transduce that frequency, descramble that frequency into profound imagery. And the imagery that you experience causes you to become more conscious in that moment. In other words, you're having a full-on sensory experience without your senses, and the information that your brain is processing tends to be more real than the three-dimensional reality you live in. You're at a greater level of awareness, a greater level of consciousness, and you get a hint about who you are when you're not your personality or identity. And religions and cultures talk about this transcendental moment for thousands of years, and that's the moment there's an arousal in the nervous system. And we have the research to show that the arousal is not little, the arousal is huge. And the arousal isn't creating fear or aggression or anger or pain that we normally feel when we're in stress and survival. That arousal puts the brain into what's called a high beta brainwave pattern. The arousal we're seeing is a gamma brainwave pattern that is so coherent, that is so organized, that is so amplified, that the only way we could describe what the person is experiencing, and they will use these words, they were in ecstasy, they were in bliss, they felt connected, they felt pure love, and they felt it in every single cell of their body. That experience inwardly is reorganizing circuitry in the brain, and it's sending a signal to the body, but it's not chemical, it's electrical. The person is getting a biological upgrade because information is reaching every cell of their body, and it's only when they can slow down the thinking brain and the autonomic nervous system, which controls and coordinates all the other cells and systems in your body, is now getting a very, very organized, very, very fast frequency pulse and it's affecting the cells to emit more light and information. And all of a sudden, the person all gets a biological upgrade. Now, when they come back to their senses, remember, we don't see things how they are, we see things how we are. You have one of those moments, and you come back to three-dimensional reality, some conditioning, some limitation, some belief is going to be removed, and you're going to have a broader spectrum of what has always existed, but you didn't have the brain circuitry to perceive it until you had an inward event like that. That changes the game for everybody. And giving them the tools to understand that when they open their hearts and they begin to raise their energy, and they know how to do that, and they can connect to a community of people and begin to, in a very non-local way, influence one another in training more order in their nervous system, they will feel more whole, they will feel more oneness, they'll feel more love. And our research shows that you can do that non-locally. When you feel love, and you are entangled or connected to, say, your husband, who I love, by the way, and you feel love for him, and you then hold the thought that for the greatest good, greatest outcome for him, it begins to have a non-local effect on his autonomic nervous system. His heart becomes more orderly. So if I can we did some great meditations over the last month with over 15, 20,000 people, all with the intention of going to a greater consciousness. And nothing happens in three-dimensional reality that doesn't first have an impression in the field. So if you change a pattern in the field, you can change three-dimensional reality, but you have to know the science behind that. So our attempt is to create a coherent signature that somehow produces changes in three-dimensional reality, and you got to be good at it. And it's not the number of people you have that are producing a lot of energy. It's the number of people that you have that produces a coherent signal of energy. And smaller groups that are more coherent produce greater effects than larger groups with larger energy that's entropic and incoherent. So, wow, what a great opportunity for us we can't rely on governments, we can't rely on so many no one's going to help us in this situation. I mean, this is really us helping ourselves, and so collectively we want to do that. We're working with certain organizations to do a big real life multi-million person meditation, hopefully here in the next couple months.
So we'll stay tuned on your website, of course, and so I hear that this is time to unite community, to open our hearts, to try new things. Try new things, meaning get out of this body. try to experience new things so we can have a different outcome.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think we're facing, as a species of human beings, we're facing ourselves. Wow, I mean, for the first time in a very long time, you could see the Himalayas because there's less pollution in India. There's less fossil fuels being burned. There's less people, distracted, and it's just a time where we have to wake up and respect one another, to respect the earth, to realize that we are not separate from this reality that we're all experiencing, but somehow, in order for us to change that reality, we have to change ourselves and be very, very selective about the information you put into your brain, and make your way, first of all, in your life, but at the same time be open to new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking about things. I just know that my close group of friends and family, everybody's challenged, but they're meeting that challenge with a level of adaptability that says there's a solution. We just have to find it as a community, as a culture. So there's a time for human beings to really begin to wake up as a species. This is our moment.